120 to start. All right. So my name is Timothy,
I'm Taylor.
I'm Kylie.
and we wanted to create a game called Blackjack. But in here, we're not going to have a dealer. Instead, it's just going to be two players playing against each other. And then they'll also have an option to bet against each other.
Methods. So for our plan to create the game, we started with creating a deck, and then we figured out how to deal to the players, and then we worked on the hit and stand buttons and our reach features.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through a quick run through of how to play the game. So with this initial start screen, you can open up the instructions and see how to create or how to play the game and like all the rules and how you win. And then you can press start, which opens a whole entire new screen for the actual playing screen. So here, player 1 can input a bet, let's say $10, and player 2 also bets $10. And by finishing the bet, it sends those bets into their bet fields that they have here. And so, as you can see here, it automatically deals these first two cards, and the player can hit to get a new card, and it plays a sound. And then they can decide to stand, or they can hit again, hoping that they don't bust. And because we got a 9 here, and there was an ace, and it went over 21, it changed back down to make an ace worth of a 1. But in this one, they decided to hit again, and then they busted, and so they automatically opens player 2. So player 2 was going to hit, and then they automatically bust. So it opens up this winning screen, because it's a tie, how much money that they would have won if they didn't tie. And then it has this animation here, and then they can choose to end the game or play again, and so if they play again, then they can retry and see who wins. So now we're going to go through the code, and we're going to start with this start screen.
Yeah, so our first start screen is really simple. Just a simple GUI with one button or two buttons that one gives you the instructions, the other one you just click to turn off the visibility of the start screen, and then it'll open up the playing screen. And then we're going to the playing screen. Alright, so these are just our properties that we created.
The most important properties just are the ones that are going to call from the M script that we have written and shown in this M file here, which is just a for loop, a 13x4 array basically of a string naming the cards. And then we'll go down into the startup function.
Yeah, so first we want to initialize the betting field, so it starts with 0, and then players could insert their values, and then everything else here is
just turns panel visibility off. Basically makes all the other panels that we have for the rest of the game off except for the betting ones, and then throughout the code we switch panels by turning their visibility on or off. Here we just shuffle the deck, so we call the deck and we reshape it into a 1x52 like array, and then we shuffle the deck with a random function, basically ordering the cards in a random permutation of numbers. And then
this code deals the first two cards in the deck to player 1, and then this code shows the images for the first two cards in player 1's screen, and then this does the same for player 2, but it's the third and fourth card in the deck.
That just turns off the visibility for the rest of the cards, and then we initialize the hit nums, which is going to be what we use for dealing the rest of the cards.
And hit nums just equals 4 because 4 cards were already dealt, and that keeps track of the total number of cards dealt, and then hit nums 2 is used later for player 2's hand. And then this sets the values for all of the cards, and it indexes using hit nums -2 since 2 cards were already dealt to player 1. And we use contains, and we use part of the name of the card to see if it's that card, and then we set it to that value. And then this sums up the points in player 1's hand and puts it in the point edit field. And we do the same for player 2.
And then the instructions button is repeated. The
same thing.
And then
So then we have the betting fields, which the game starts off with the betting panels for player 1 and 2. So they'll just insert their bet, and then once they click the button, it'll go into the player 2 bet. And same thing here, player 2 inserts their bet, it puts it in the edit field, and then it starts the game once they click bet.
So then with the hit button, basically that's a button that's going to deal them a new card like what I was showing you, and we have it increasing every single time this code runs, every single time the buttons push. That way we can deal cards with this part right here where we talk about app.hitnums, and this basically just makes a array concatenated of their original 2 cards plus the cards that they have been hitting, and then we put it into player 1 hand, and then we show that in the strings.
And then these if statements are used to display the images for the cards, and it checks which card it is to show the right image. And then we made the image files the same name as the card names to make it easier to insert.
Yeah, so we also wanted to insert sound, so when you hit the hit button, it'll use audio read and read the WAV file, and then we use the sound function to play the file.
And then this sets the values for player 1's cards, like it did in the startup function.
Except for their new cards. And then this right here was where we kind of came into like a rut where we know that an ace has to either be worth an 11 or a 1. We didn't know how to let the players choose that, so we basically forced the players to make, if they have an ace card, we force that ace card to be worth 1 if they go over 21 points, which would automatically make them fail to bust in
So
the game.
if they went over 21, we had an if statement. The bust screen would show up, and then it would just automatically go to the second player's screen.
And then here the stand button, if they decided to stand instead of hit and keep their points, then it would just turn off their visibility and turn on player 2's visibility. And then for hit button 4, it's going to be basically the same code, except for we indexed using a new one to account for the fact that player 2 doesn't have the same amount of cards as player 1, so we had to create a new array. But basically all the rest of the code is the same.
Yeah.
So it's the sound file again. And then we go through, and this is all the points, and then the same thing with the ace going on, and then bust screen. And the only thing that's really different here is that if player 2 busts, then it automatically shows the winner panel, which tells them whether they tie or win and how much money they do. And then they also
so we have a new sound here. Just changed the WAV file, and then here we just have the whoever won. If their values are greater than the other players, they'll have the player 1 or 2 wins. And if they tied, they'll have the tie screen show.
And then here's the animation, and basically I just changed an image position up and down, make it kind of look like it was bouncing, and I use a sine function going between 0 and pi in increments of 0.05, and I had that run 700 times depending on how long. And we also had used draw now to initialize that, the moving of the position.
Yeah, we also had the bet show here where it would add both the player field values and give the total amount 1.
So then if the player 2 press the stand button, then it's going to open the winner panel, and it's going to go through all those conditionals that we described in the very first one, replay the applause sound, open up the how much money they won, and do the animations. Basically the same code, but for like a different initializer.
Yeah, and then we also wanted to have a replay button, so they could just click the play button again, and it'd go through the code and reinitialize all the values, and then they could just play again, bet again, do whatever they want again. And then it's just the same code here for the startup function after that.
Basically just reinitialize everything. And then we go all the way down, and then the last thing that we allow them to do is either, like, where they can either start the game or end the game, and ending the game just
closes it. Yeah.
And that's our project.